What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Wrestling with Finance here. I am your host, and we're going to talk today about credit scores because in the process of some of us who are trying to get our financial lives in order, our personal finance all set and ready to go so we don't have to be completely in debt and broke when we're older, one of the big things about that after you save up some money is to get your credit score in order or make sure it's in order or even to get any credit at all. However, there's been some big changes or some changes that may be coming pretty soon and how your credit score actually works. And we're going to talk about that in this video so you can get your credit score up to par. And if you already do, is there anything for you to worry about the changes that are likely to come? Before we do that, the big change that you should do right now is change where your mouse is and click the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell to help people know when these videos are coming out from Wrestling with Finance, help other people who may be interested in personal finance find these videos online. I definitely appreciate it very much. You guys are definitely helping out grow this channel. So a lot of you may already know, credit score, kind of an important thing. A lot of you, apparently 20% of people in the United States, don't know much about their credit scores. So a basic synopsis of it is your credit score is your worthiness. It determines how likely you are to get credit from a bank or any other loan company and what rate you're going to have to pay that money back at. So a company, there are the big three right now, the big three private companies that you'll see on your credit report, Experian, and et cetera, et cetera. They basically look at your history of payments and say, okay, well, this person has either taken out a lot of credit or they've applied for a lot of credit. Maybe that's a bad thing. They've been approved for a lot of credit. That might be a good thing. They've had high credit limits and they've paid most of their credit back. That's also considered a good thing. If you don't pay as much of your debts back, then that's a bad thing and it lowers your score. There's all of these variables involved, including how long you've had credit, in particular credit cards. That's one of the big ones. Credit cards, a lot of people, especially in my generation, we kind of go crazy in college with the credit cards, and I know I did, and just make that thing go through the roof, and because you don't really understand what it is. I know when I got my first credit card, I didn't understand what the heck it was. I just thought it was free money, and yes, I did. And then it just ran the whole thing up and got into a lot of trouble with it and had to pay it off, and it was this big thing, and it ruined my credit for a number of years. But as I went through that experience, I was able to build my credit back up and then know how to use a credit card and actually understand what it is, instead of just getting this little paper in the mail that said, hey, here's $2,500 for free. That's yours, and you can just use it on this card and you pay it back maybe at some time. This goes to something I talked about in the last video, how we're not taught financial literacy in this country. We're taught consumerism, and then you're given this money and said, hey, go buy your stuff, and you go buy your stuff. And even people who are aware of what credit is and that they probably shouldn't use it in very irresponsible ways. You know, I gotta get that car. I gotta get that bike. I gotta get that vacation. I gotta get that, how are we gonna pay for our wedding? We always have to go spend and rack up that credit debt on that card. And it's not just credit cards, of course, that count to your credit score. If you have a mortgage, if you have a car loan, anything like that where you're borrowing money from somebody else and using it that you have to pay back, that is contributing to your credit report. Then there's various agencies and companies that help you track your credit, free credit reports and all of those kind of websites and services that will monitor your credit report and send you a report. Mint.com does it too. If you have all of your accounts in Mint.com, I think they give you a free credit report that you can look at. But essentially, you want your credit score to be above 680 and above. And the higher that it is, the more credit worthy you are, the higher amounts of money you're going to have available to you for credit, and the lower your interest rate will be for getting a car or getting a house or anything, or buying a boat or whatever it is you want to do. Or even, maybe even your cell phone. You're not going to have as high a interest rate on your payments if you have a good credit history. Now, if you miss a bunch of payments or you don't pay anything or you get a bunch of dings on your credit report, then that's going to hurt it a little bit, and it's going to make it not impossible, but very, very hard for you to be able to establish credit and then kind of get out of the hole. Again, once you're in the hole, it's very hard to dig out of it. And bankruptcy is another thing too. If you, unfortunately, and I have one friend who went bankrupt, which was very strange when I heard it, because they were like 23 years old and they went bankrupt. I was like, how do you go bankrupt at 23? But it happens. And when you go bankrupt though, you can't borrow anything for 7 years. 7 years. A lot of the dings on your credit report will last for 7 years. So it is very important, or it has been very important up until this point in time, to be responsible with your credit. But there are some problems with this as well. In particular, Equifax and all of these, they're basically three credit agencies that are private companies that are for profit. Unfortunately, again, another one of these things where something should be a service but isn't a service. It's actually something that's a business for profit, and there's certain things that shouldn't be. Your credit monitoring services for everybody in the country is one of them. And they've had a lot of problems. There's been data breaches, there's been lawsuits, there's been misreporting things. In fact, if you are a person who's looked at your credit report and you don't know what you're looking at, you might want to look a little closer to it, because it's almost a guarantee that you have at least one inaccurate thing on your credit report, and one inaccurate thing can really lower your score below a point where you can be able to buy a house. A lot of people have that problem, that they just don't have good credit, and they don't know why they don't have good credit, even though they may have paid most of their bills on time, but it's a lot lower than what it should be, and it kind of locks you out from doing a lot of stuff in this country. Now, what the new regime in Washington is proposing is this new public credit system that's going to kind of, over time, I think they say over the next 7 years, is going to kind of wipe away those private institutions and replace it with a public institution. Now, yes, it should be a service, it should be a public institution. I am agree with that. I sometimes don't like the government running certain financial things, because the government's not really good with money either. It is kind of a weird thing that an entity that is trillions and trillions of dollars in debt is going to be managing credit for its citizens, but that's neither here nor there. This is going to be a public system that's going to be completely transparent. The algorithm, which is basically how they measure your credit worthiness, is going to be transparent, unlike what it is now with a lot of the private companies, and that's a good thing. One of the big changes I find to be very interesting is that they're going to reduce the years that a bad ding on your credit report will last. So again, like I said before, right now it's 7 years. They're going to reduce it down to 4, which would help out a lot of people. In particular, if you're a college student and you got some bad credit debt, well, maybe by the time you're out of college, or maybe 4 years after you're out of college, you can kind of have that stuff removed from your credit report. Speaking of college students, this is also part of the effort to kind of help the student loan debt crisis by kind of getting rid of it, along with some bankruptcies and stuff. So a lot of those problems that a lot of people have who just are unfortunate with money, maybe just have bad circumstances, or maybe just didn't know what they were doing with money, which is why channels like this are important for you to kind of learn what you're supposed to do with your money, because nobody taught us that in school when we were younger. A lot of those people might have a better chance now to kind of get their things corrected and not live in a hole for the rest of their life. And again, this is all a win-win as far as I'm concerned. You're also going to be able to do something, according to what this new program says, that's going to be very helpful to people, especially low-income people, because low-income people, or people who have bad credit scores, they have a very hard time being able to build a credit score. People who have no credit scores because they never knew that they needed to be involved with it. It was part of life. Again, lack of financial education in the United States. It's hard for you to kind of build that credit up. And what this program is saying it's going to do is it's going to count things like rent, which are not currently counted towards your credit score. They count mortgages, but they don't count rent, and they're going to count utility payments. So say you're a person who, you can't afford to buy a house right now, but you can help build up your credit score while you're renting by paying your rent on time, and then having that count and seeing your score go up, and paying your utilities, your gas and electric, etc. on time. That will help your credit score go up, and then that will help more people be able to move from being renters into homeowners, if that's the thing that they want to do, or being able to qualify to rent better places and better neighborhoods, which is a win-win again for everybody involved. Now, some of the downsides of this, again, I'm rather sketchy about the government and its ability to be able to run things. The only thing they really seem to run somewhat decently is the military. I mean, ask your postal service about how well and efficient the government runs things. But all my skepticism about the United States government aside, with the new ideas and new people coming into play, you might have this actually work out pretty well. And especially as important as it is, and kind of the underlying mission behind this is to kind of move a lot of the disadvantaged people, disenfranchised people, which the current regime basically bases a lot of their support on, which is the little guy, and being able to help them not only get out of the rut, but be able to build credit over time. This is going to go far to do that, and that's a good thing. But you also run the downside of you may be allowing more people who just are irresponsible off the hook for their irresponsibilities, and that could cause a problem. Because say like this, you could be a person who just runs up a lot of debt, and then you go bankrupt, but you know in 4 years I'm gonna be fine, so I'm just gonna lay low, use my kids' credit for 4 years, ruin that. Then I'm gonna move over to my wife's credit and then ruin that. And by the time that's done, my credit will be back up, and then they'll just keep playing this cycle game. That could potentially be a big problem. And in addition to this, there's also just the fundamental problem that's lying throughout all of this is the education. They may change all of this stuff. It's supposed to be happening within the next 7 years. But again, if more Americans don't understand how credit works before, and they don't understand how it works in the new system, you're still going to have the same problems, and you might have them compounded in ways that we can't foresee right now. Overall, I do think this is going to benefit a lot of people, especially if you're a person who's watching this and your credit's not the greatest. You're probably going to get a better credit score as long as you maintain stuff. This is not taking all the responsibility away. You still got to pay your bills. You still got to pay them on time. But it's reducing the amount of damage you can do to your credit report, adding more transparency to how your credit report is and your credit number is determined, and giving you more opportunities to build your credit, again, by having things like utilities and rent count towards your credit score. Thank you guys for watching this video. Again, if you have any questions about any of this stuff, be sure to let your voice be heard in the comment box below. Do you have some particular credit questions or the things that you don't understand? You want to know where you can get a credit report for free? An actual free credit report, not one that's going to charge you later on. Let your voice be heard in the comment box below. Until then, again, if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, and definitely share this on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, wherever on social media you talk about personal finance. I will be back with you guys for more videos here on Wrestling with Finance pretty soon. Thanks for watching, and have a good day.